Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Fries. I'm a technology consultant with Ingram Micro on our data center Delta Force team. And today we have a topic that I think is pretty prevalent in today's market, and that's hybrid and distributed cloud. So hybrid and distributed cloud, it's one of many data center trends we have identified at Ingram Micro. It's also a key technology trend that a lot of global research organizations like your Gartner, IDC, Forrester have also identified in the market. So it's definitely something that's prevalent that your customers are looking at and you should be looking at. And so I guess why you're watching today's video. So we really appreciate you checking out today's video. During the video, what you should expect is I'll walk you through a little bit of a background of how distributed and hybrid cloud came to be, touch upon what they are, why you and your organization should care, as well as how to reach out to our team if you have any follow-up questions. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So what I always like to start off with first is trying to set the lay of the land a little bit. And I really think to understand what a distributed and hybrid cloud is, we have to start with the basics by first identifying and defining what a traditional data center is, as well as what this term of the cloud refers to. So if you are familiar with these, you can probably skip ahead a little bit, but it never hurts to get a little refresher. To put it simply, a data center, it's a physical location that combines a mixture of things like servers, routers, firewalls, switches, storage arrays, universal power supplies, so on and so forth, that is managed on-premise, typically by the organization or by some sort of MSP that the organization works with and offers very specific services based on what that organization needs. If we switch to the cloud, on the other hand, this refers to servers that are actually being accessed over the internet and the services that run on those servers. So think of, I always like to use Netflix as an example because it's one that we can kind of all understand. You rarely actually download movies or shows you're watching from Netflix. I think they have that as an option now, but you have to pay for the higher tier subscription, which I don't. I actually bum my dad's Netflix account, so I don't even pay for it since I use his. But they're a great example. You're streaming those over their servers. You're not actually downloading that. So you're going and accessing that from the cloud. Also, I like to make these a little fun. I'm a big fan of Netflix. I watch a lot of their Netflix original series. If you haven't checked out Cobra Kai and Queen's Gambit, definitely recommend it. Queen's Gambit is great. It made me realize afterwards how bad I am at chess when I actually tried to play it. And Cobra Kai, it just brings a lot of memories, reminiscing if you've ever watched Karate Kid when you were younger. Anyhow, let's jump into what a public and private cloud is, right? So a public cloud, it's this idea of accessing on-demand resources, computing resources and services, as well as infrastructure that's managed by some sort of third-party provider. And they often share these resources with multiple organizations using the internet as a vehicle. So this isn't just shared with one or two organizations. These are typically shared with hundreds or thousands of organizations. So you may have heard the term Azure, AWS. These are probably two of the biggest cloud providers out there. Actually, I think they're the number 1 and 2. But there's also other public cloud providers out there. Think of Google. Think of Oracle. I think IBM has their own, VMware, so on and so forth. There's plenty of public cloud providers out there. There's also private clouds, which differ from public clouds in that really everything is going to be housed within the company's intranet or their hosted data center. So it's more siloed than a public cloud. However, the management, the maintenance, the updating of everything is now the responsibility of the company that's housing that, not the cloud provider like in the public cloud sense. So both a private and public cloud, they each have their own advantages and disadvantages, which we'll go into a little bit detailed later on in the slides. But again, to set the lay of the land a little bit for cloud, take a look at these staggering statistics. I always like to show some statistics because at the end of the day, we're here to grow our business, increase our revenue, our margins, so on and so forth. And if we look at infrastructure as a service, which is a huge service that runs within these cloud models, The market grew 40.7% in 2020 to $64.3 billion. So pretty staggering statistics. That comes from Gartner, who I think knows their stuff really well. And then here you can see I took a little snippet of a diagram of a table I found on Gartner's website regarding public cloud spending measured in the millions. So you can see the trend is continuing to go up when the years progress. So it's definitely increasing, it's not decreasing, which is why we should all be taking a look at it. It's a growing market. So between a public and private cloud, you might be asking yourself, is there a deployment model that it fits best, that's better than the other? Is public cloud better or is it private cloud? And the answer really is no. One isn't better over the other. It really just depends on your customers' requirements. So definitely had those discovery questions with your customers. And I always like to use this as an example. So let's say you have a customer that needs 100% full control over their solution. Then in that type of scenario, a public cloud probably isn't the right fit for them, because you can see here under the disadvantages for public cloud, the lack of security and flexibility and customization is a disadvantage that the public cloud provides. On the flip side, let's say you have a customer that they don't have a lot of CapEx available right now. They need a solution that's more scalable, and they don't want to have a lot of overhead as far as maintenance. In that type of scenario, a public cloud is going to be a better fit for them. What's interesting is actually a lot of enterprises tend to start off with the public cloud because they don't have that available CapEx that I mentioned before to invest in all this infrastructure needed for a private cloud. So they start out with a public cloud and then they slowly transition over to a private cloud. And I always like to use Netflix and Dropbox as an example, just because we all tend to consume their services. They actually both started out in the public cloud, but because of the different disadvantages that a public cloud provides, they've moved almost everything over to being private. You might be also thinking, well, public cloud must be more popular of the two, right? We always hear about Azure. We hear about AWS all the time. IBM, Google Cloud. We even hear about Alibaba's cloud that they have available. Remember just reading an article on that. And also, if we look at the statistics on the previous slide, look at how high the cloud consumption rate's going for infrastructure as a service. But what's interesting is, out of the two, neither of them are actually the most popular deployment model. The most popular deployment model is actually a blend of the two together, which brings us to hybrid cloud. So if you're not familiar with hybrid cloud, hopefully, again, today's video will bring you that level of familiarity. And that hybrid cloud really makes it so organizations that can't do all these things on their own, they'll be able to rely on a public cloud for those things. But for technologies that they can do on their own, they can still leverage their own private cloud to keep those in-house. So they're going to combine the best of both worlds, the public and the private cloud. So again, a hybrid utilization encompasses both the private and public cloud. And we're seeing this being used by enterprises again and again. So don't be surprised when you're talking to your customers and you see they're relying on Azure for some things, AWS for others, GCP or Google Cloud Platform for some other things, and of course their own data center for probably the majority of other things is what we've been seeing especially for those enterprise level customers. So essentially, again, a hybrid cloud combines an on-premise infrastructure or a private cloud with the public cloud. Oh, and I was supposed to have an animation there, but for some reason it didn't work. That's okay. And there are a ton of other vendors that support this hybrid cloud motion. You might recognize some of these and not recognize others, and that's just because there are a lot of tools available in the market to help assist with both deploying and managing a hybrid cloud environment. We even, within Ingram Micro, we have an entire team dedicated to our cloud practice. So if you're ever needing a helping hand, or you need someone to point you into the right direction for any of these vendors, or how to build out a cloud practice, you can definitely reach out to our team for assistance. And we have people on staff that can help you with that. So now that we know this idea of what a hybrid cloud is, let's discuss what a distributed cloud model looks like. A lot of you probably have heard the term hybrid cloud, but you might not have heard the term distributed cloud because it's fairly new and it hasn't taken off nearly as well as a hybrid cloud. So if we look at what a distributed cloud is and you look at the definition from Gartner, they actually have an interesting statement where they say a distributed cloud fixes what a hybrid cloud breaks. And essentially what Gartner is trying to say is they're trying to say that a distributed cloud extends what a hybrid cloud offers by incorporating the physical location of cloud delivered services as a part of the definition of the cloud. So they essentially incorporate the edge, which helps reduce latency, helps reduce network congestion, as well as the risk of data loss. It also provides better compliance with data sovereignty because now that we're incorporating the edge, data can be kept in the country where it was actually generated in. So if you have any customers that's concerned about data sovereignty, well, a distributed cloud is something they're probably going to be looking at in the future because they might not be adopting public cloud as well as they would like to because of that requirement that they have. And the way it works is pretty straightforward. So cloud services from public cloud providers, they become distributed out to specific and varied physical locations, which really enables operations to be physically closer to those who need the capabilities to enable this idea of a low latency compute. Again, this also helps reduce network failure risk because cloud services can reside in local subnets now and can also dramatically increase the number and availability of locations where these cloud services can be hosted. So it's all about spreading out all of these various cloud services. So if we talk about what's next for distributed cloud, Gartner states that distributed cloud will evolve in two distinct phases. So in phase one, enterprises will buy cloud substations to mimic the promise of hybrid cloud and avoid latency issues. In phase two, Gartner calls this the next generation of cloud, will work based on the assumption that cloud substations are really everywhere, much like a Wi-Fi hotspot as an example. So if we look at, again, the forecast of this idea of the distributed cloud, the idea of a distributed cloud is a holy grail of cloud technology. It provides an all-new approach that will really enable organizations to manage all these disparate components that we see with the hybrid cloud model and with multiple public clouds into one logical cloud. However, a lot of people have stated that this isn't just going to happen overnight. And some experts actually predict that it won't even really start taking shape until 2022 and beyond. So that's why you probably haven't heard about it too much. It's a trend that's happening, but hasn't been widely adopted. The technology isn't fully there yet, but it's definitely a trend that we need to keep an eye out on and ear out for as it continues to advance, because this is something your customers are going to be looking out for. So that's it for today's video. Definitely, if you have any questions or you want to talk about your cloud strategy, you can visit us at datacenter.ingrammicro.com. We have a lot of great resources there. You'll actually find this video on that website. We also have an email alias, which will send an email out to our data center Delta Force. It's data-center@ingrammicro.com, so you can reach out to us there. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful. And again, if you have any questions, we are here to help. So thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye.